Welcome back to Hourglass Podcast. In the very first episode, I talked about how I received 21 years in prison when I was 21 years old. The things that I had done that got me that time, a string of armed robberies, that they've been looking for me for a while. And before any of that could happen, the police first had to find and arrest me. I was arrested in the early morning hours, April 1st, 2003. So it's been 21 years now at this point, just almost to the day. When the police came looking for me, I didn't know that they were coming. I had no idea initially. My routine at the time was to get off of work, I come home from my construction job, staying at my parents' house, and I would go out for the rest of the evening with the money that I'd made, and I was chasing my high. I was drinking, I was smoking weed, I was doing a lot of cocaine when I could get my hands on it, acid, mushrooms, ecstasy, whatever would come across the table. I touched everything except for heroin. You had some pills, I'd take those too. Whatever, it didn't matter. There probably wasn't a time frame where I was sober for longer than 16 hours straight. If it had been longer than 16 hours where I wasn't able to get high, that was a rare occurrence. And this went on for quite a long time. So as I'm getting off of my job, I get home. My car is trashed at this point. I'd hit a deer a couple months earlier, totaled it, thing was wrecked. Insurance didn't cover it. It was just a mess. The car was gone. So I have a buddy of mine who's picking me up. We're riding around. He's not working. I throw him gas money, and we go out and get high together. So this particular individual became my co-defendant later on, and I would get up with him as soon as I get off work. He'd usually come pick me up, and we go out chasing the bag, whatever it was, whatever we were trying to run down for the night, whatever we had the money to get. So I'm calling him up. I'm looking for him, and this is 2003, mind you. Not everybody had cell phones. Some people did. My sister had one. This was the time frame that cell phones would charge you by the minute. And for those of us in the know back then, you would call somebody after 9 p.m. and on the weekends. The calls were free after 9 and on the weekends. That was it. The rest of the time you would get billed for the minute. So we'd have very quick conversations if you had a cell phone. If not, we use landlines. We would just use the house phones, pay phones if we were out. That's how most people got in contact with each other. Cell phones were just starting to become more available and cheaper, but they weren't cheap like they are now. Like it was just a different time period. So I would call my buddy's house. I wasn't able to get up with him. I said, okay, I'll keep trying because he knows I was going to call him. Kept looking for him, kept calling. Nothing happened. I was starting to get a little bit concerned after, maybe like 2 hours had gone by. I'm like, what's going on? We were supposed to get up together tonight. And so I didn't know, but I knew something was happening. Wasn't much longer than that. I got a phone call from another individual who was currently in the county jail at the time. So I get a collect call on the landline at my house. Do you accept the charges? Yes. So I started speaking to this individual. I said, hey, he's here. It's like, what? They said, yes, he is here right now, who you're looking for. I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like visiting? They said, no, like he's a resident. You need to know. I'm giving you a heads up. I said, oh, no, that's bad. So I got off the phone quickly, packed a bag, grabbed my things, and I went down and asked my sister for a ride. I said, can you take me somewhere I need to go? Like right now, it's very important. I have to leave. She was like, yeah, okay, I'll get you out of the house. Where do you want to go? Take me to my one friend's house. No problem. So she's driving me, and she knows something's up, but she doesn't know what. Later on, we come to find out that it wasn't long after we left the house that the police came in from the other direction to the house to look for me. But I didn't know this. So leading up to that, I get dropped off at my buddy's house. I'm over there. I'm worried because I know that my friend's in jail. I don't know what for, but I'm very anxious. I know something's happening. It's not good. If he's there, there's a good chance they're coming for me next. That's running through my mind. I can't know for certain any of this stuff, but there's like anxiety was on me in a massive way because I just knew the walls were closing in. I knew that the cops were coming at some point to get me. So I'm at my buddy's house and I talked to him. I'm like, hey man, listen, I got to get out of town. I need some help. I need a ride. I got to get down and make my way down to Texas, and I'm going to shoot across the border, get down there and just disappear for a while. Several years prior, I was in California ripping and running, acting a fool, and I met some pretty crazy fellas out there. We were doing some dirty things, and I remember the stories. They said, listen, if you have the scratch, if you have enough cash, you can step over into Mexico, and for a reasonably small amount of money, you can get set up. You can get a place. You can live better for the value of your money that you're taking with you. So I'm thinking, okay, if I can get to Texas, I'll cross over. That's what I'll do. I'll just go down there. I'll get off the radar, get me some small place, lay back, live the simple life, eat beans and rice, work on my tan, learn Spanish. That's in my mind because I said, I'm not going to jail. I don't want to go there. I've been for small, like minor things before. Never really did any time, but did like enough to know that I didn't want to go back. Absolutely did not want to go back to jail, much less prison at this point, because that's not even a thought in my mind. My reality is the county jail that I had been in. I didn't want to go back. So that was my plan. I said, I need to go. I need to get out of town. I'm going to hole up at my buddy's house tonight. Tomorrow, when the sun comes up, I'm out of town. I'm going to get out of here. I had it worked out. I was going to get some wheels and basically just go on the run and try to not get caught. It's not a smart plan, but I mean, when you're cornered and you think the walls are closing in, not many people are going to say, you know what, yeah, just come pick me up and throw me in jail for the next several years. That's okay. There's a flight instinct inside of you that wants to do everything it can to make sure you stay free. So that was my plan. Well, while I'm at my buddy's house that night, he goes, listen, man, just relax, stay down here, just sleep on the sofa. Tomorrow's a new day. We'll handle that. I said, okay, cool. So I'm down in the house in the first floor, just getting high. Had a couple beers, but I think I was out of drink at this point too, because I was just trying to take the edge off, calm my nerves any way possible. So I got a sack of weed and I'm just smoking it. I'm just steady smoking as much as I possibly can. It's not numbing me. It's not getting me high like I wanted it to. This just like pervasive thought in my mind. There was no peace. I had zero rest, zero respite. It was just chaotic in my brain. So I'm smoking as much as I possibly can, just trying to calm myself down. I mean, I got like adrenaline running. It's not a good feeling. So I'm at the house, and before my sister had left, this is something that had me on edge as well. She got a call on her cell phone, and it was my mother. So my mom said, "Hey, where's your brother at?" I'm like, "I'm not here. You dropped me off." She goes, I dropped him off. What's up? She's like, you need to get him and bring him home right now. And she's like, I dropped him off. He's not here. She's like, go get him and bring him home. It's very important. And the way she was saying it, I could see my sister's eyes were like very wide. She didn't like what she was hearing, and we knew something bad was up. And I was like, I'm not here. I am not here. So she gets off the phone and she's like, dude, something's going on. You know, I'll just tell them I dropped you off. I said, that's fine. I'll handle it. Look, I love you. I'll talk to you later. So she gets out and she goes back home, and I didn't talk to her again for the night. I didn't see her for a while after this. This was the night I got arrested. But mom called. Get your brother home. It's about midnight now. It's been a few hours. I'm sitting at the house. I'm getting high, trying to calm my nerves. I know bad things are coming for me. And we start hearing the cop knock on the front door. That long, loud, persistent banging where they just non-stop beating on the door. And I was waiting for them to kick the door in. But they didn't. They just kept saying, Sheriff's office, open the door. Sheriff's office, open the door. I'm waiting for the door to get kicked in. And I couldn't move. I was like, if they see me, they're coming in. So I do the slow creep over to the corner as quiet as I can, not trying to make any noise, to look out the blinds. And I see them. They're out there. Some plain clothes, some uniformed police. I'm like, man, this is bad. And they just kept beating on the door. They wouldn't stop. They were relentless. And apparently they didn't have a warrant for this house, but I think they were trying to secure one because they weren't leaving and they were just pounding away. This is the point where I realized they're coming in and getting me one way or another tonight. Now I have to make a decision. If the police were to come into this house, everyone there would have gotten locked up. Everyone in the house would have gone to jail that night. There were things in there that we would have all been in trouble for. So I did what I did not want to do. I forced myself, after another bong hit, I ripped one down as fast as I could, looked out the back door, and I said, okay, I don't see anybody out there right now. I'm going to make a break for it. And I'm going to get out of here. And then, if they chase me, at least I can try to get away. But they won't be able to come in here and take everyone down. I didn't want to take the whole ship down with me. That's kind of messed up. And I knew if they came in, that would happen. So what I did, went to the back door after I ripped my last bong hit, put a cigarette in my mouth, lit it up, smoked about half of it in 2 drags. I mean, my hands they're shaking. They're shaking at this point. I think I'm steady and in control, but I look down and like I'm just involuntarily just shaking away. I'm nervous. I'm extraordinarily nervous because I'm like, are they going to shoot me? Are they going to come in here? Like, there's a lot of things going through my mind. I open the back door. I step out, and police officer yells my name. And I didn't see him. I didn't know he was out there. He goes, are you such and such? And I just shut the door. I went back in. I was like, oh, no. I was like, they know I'm here. Now they're coming. They're coming. I got to go out or everybody's going down. So I went out. I headed outside. Shut the door behind me so they couldn't go in. I'm still smoking my cigarette, and he's got the light and the gun drawn on me. Get down on the ground. No. Shouting commands. I'm terrified, but I was like, this is it. I'm going away. So I got a cigarette hanging out of the corner of my mouth. I'm just smoking as much as I can because there's no tobacco in jails anymore at this point, at least not in the county. And I was smoking around 2 packs a day. So for me, I knew this could be my last one for several years. So they get me on the ground, face down the concrete, knee in the neck, all that good stuff. And they handcuff me behind my back, and I'm still smoking a cigarette. And they're like, spit that cigarette out. And I'm twisting my head trying to get my last couple drags in because I know this is the last of them. And they're not going to give me another one. So finally, they get the cigarette out of my mouth, get me up, take me over, put me in the back of the squad car. As I'm sitting in the back of the squad car, there was a silence in there that I hadn't experienced in a long time. It was so eerily quiet sitting in that car. The car was off. They were outside the car. I'm handcuffed behind my back. The doors are shut. It's just still. It's calm. It's quiet. And I know that I'm no longer on my time. So the cop gets into the car, identified me at this point, said, "You were hard to find," or something along those lines. I didn't say a word to him, not a peep. It's about a 10-minute drive to the sheriff's office from where I was, and the whole ride, it seemed longer than 10 minutes, and it also seemed shorter than 10 minutes. Like, time was really strange in that moment. And it's very hard to describe and to explain, but time was quicker and it was slower at the same time. It was very weird. It was very weird. I had a lot going through my mind. So when I got there, they took me inside. I went in, strip search, all that good stuff, put me in a holding cell, and then a few minutes later, they call me over into the interrogation room. I go in there, you see like the two-way mirror, the two-way glass. Two detectives come in and sit down across from me, and they're holding some papers, and they just kept asking me, "Where were you on this night? Where were you on that night? Do you remember what you were doing at this time, this day?" And first of all, I'm bad with dates. I'm not really great with them. And second of all, I'm not going to talk to them anyway. So I didn't say anything. I was just like, I don't know. I'm waiting to see what they're going to say. And when they kept going, I asked them what I was being charged with. I was like, why am I here? They wouldn't say. They just kept asking dates. So why am I here? They wouldn't say anything. They just kept asking me about particular times. So I knew not to speak. I had told my co-defendant prior to this, whatever happens, keep your mouth shut. We'll be fine. He didn't listen to that. When they kept asking me about dates, I finally just said, I want a lawyer. Knowing that I didn't have money for one, I was going to get some crappy public pretender to come in there, and I didn't have a lot of hope in a lawyer, but I had hope in the fact that they would stop talking to me once I invoked that right, that privilege. And to these detectives' credit, they did stop talking immediately. At that point, they didn't say another word to me. I said, okay, he asked for a lawyer. And they slid the paperwork right across to me that they've been holding. I got my handcuffs on, so I pick it up. When they walk out of the room, I start reading it. It's a charging document talking about armed robbery, handgun charge, first-degree assault, theft over, theft under. I said, oh, man, where, carrying, transport a handgun in the use of a felony. And I'm looking at these, and each one has a number next to it of the time that it carries per charge. Like the armed robbery charge is like 20 years. The conspiracy to commit an armed robbery, which that's an interesting charge. The conspiracy, they can get you with more time for that. I believe it was 25 years for conspiracy. And they don't even have to fully prove it. They just have to prove that there was like a willingness or something. It's weird. Conspiracy is a very interesting charge because you can get hammered pretty hard and they don't have to have as much evidence. It's really weird. It's a strange one. Check it out. Look it up. It's probably different in each state, but so conspiracy was like 25 years, armed robbery is 20 years, the handgun charge is a mandatory minimum of 5 years, where carrying transport is 3 years, like the theft over, $500 is, I can't remember, but it was small compared to the 20s that I'm looking at, and I was like, whoa, this is serious. Like, this is no joke. So now I'm realizing, I'm starting to read the documents that someone had been speaking because they're talking about certain details of things that had happened. And I was like, oh, this isn't good. So they put me back on the block. I'm sitting there. Well, I'm not on the block yet. I'm in a holding section in the county jail. And I just keep looking out the little porthole in the door where they bring the food. I keep looking out, and I'm waiting to see if anybody's coming through. I'm just trying to gauge my surroundings. Well, here I see my my now co-defendant, my buddy that was supposed to pick me up and we were going to go out and party. He goes walking by, and I was like, hey. I said, hey, man, don't say anything. But he walked off, and he had this really weird look, and he was walking with a couple of people. They looked like detectives. And I didn't fully understand at the time until later, but I realized then this is bad. He's just been back there in a room, and the way he just looked at me, it's not good. So he goes off. I end up getting processed through fingerprints, all the good stuff. They put me on the block. Like, I'm in population now. I'm there probably maybe 2 days. And as I'm on the block sitting in there, I said, you know what? I'm not calling home because I just can't face this conversation with my parents. I can't do it. I don't know what I've put them through. And to be honest, I was just such a screw up at the time. I said, I can't even call home. I'm not going to. But I am going to call my grandparents just to let them know where I'm at. So I called them up, and they accepted the charges on the collect call. I said, hey, I just want you to know where I am. I want you to tell everybody where I am. Don't go looking for me in the hospitals. I'm here. I'm in jail. I'm not asking for anything. I don't want bail money. I don't want commissary money. I just want you to know this is where I am and that I'm okay. Please tell my parents I can't call home right now. My grandparents, this is the time where I found out what happened. And over the course of several months, as me and my family started to speak again, then I learned the rest of the story. So my grandparents tell me that night, they go, do you realize what happened? Do you know what happened? I said, no. I said, your house was raided. Like, your parents' house was raided by, like, the SWAT team. It was known as the task force down here. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, my goodness. I got my parents' house raided. And this just feeling of complete shame and guilt just took over me, man. And I still feel terrible about it. I really do. It's something that you don't want to ever have done to anybody, much less the people that care about you. I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow when you realize the path that you were on put other people into that position. And it was very, very hard to swallow that pill. And I was scared because I was like, man, my dad's going to kill me. Like, he's going to kill me. Like, when he sees me, I'm like, that's not good. So earlier on, I was talking about how I had gotten the phone call from the county jail, the person that was in there, and they said, hey, your friend is here right now. I grabbed my bag, got out of the house, and this is the information that came in after that. After we had left the house, I was getting a ride in town. The police weren't, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes after that, they came in the other side. Like, I pulled out of the driveway this way. They came in from the other side. And it's very surreal, and it still freaks me out to think about this. So I'm driving away. The task force pulls up. Now, they had a warrant to search the home. It was a search and seizure warrant. It was not a no-knock raid warrant, but that's how they executed it. Which this was brought up in court later on. I mean, some things were suppressed because the execution of the search warrant was illegal. It was done wrong. It was a knock warrant to be able to come in and search the house. These guys, instead, they put on the balaclavas, they had MP5s, and they came in without knocking into my parents' home. and raided the house. My mom, when she heard somebody at the door, she thought, one of her friends was stopping by or something like that. She looks down the hallway and saw a guy wearing a mask, and she was like, "What's this?" My mom's a very sweet, very nice, just caring, loving woman, and everyone that knows her knows that she's just she's a total sweetheart, and she thinks the best of people. And her friends, they used to do these games with each other. They'd be like, "Hey, let's go grab our friend and we'll take him on a spa day, like a kidnapping, haha." So they'd be like, "Oh, you're coming with us," and they would go get their buddies and like, "Oh, it's spa day time." Kind of like in old school where they were grabbing everybody up, throwing them in the van and taking off with them. She's thinking this is that these people that are in her house are like spa day prank buddies who are like, we're going to go do something fun. So she looks down the hall and she was like, "Do I know you?" And the cop's like, "Get on the ground now," like waving a gun at her. One of them goes upstairs. He's like kicking in the door, running around, "Clear!" Comes down, like rips open another door, runs in, rips open the closet doors, "Clear!" And she's like, "Is this a joke?" So she's like, "Do I know you? Who are you? Who sent you?" And the cop is like, "Get down. You don't know me. Get down." And she thinks, she's not thinking that the SWAT team is raiding her house because of her idiot son. She's thinking that this is a joke. Because why would this happen to her? She's not that kind of a person. She doesn't live that life. This isn't the life that she knows anything about. My dad's in the back room working on some stuff for his business. And he kind of popped out too. And at this point, and this is all after the fact information that I've gotten. Like my grandparents are telling me, my parents told me later on this is what happened, and I had to listen to this, and I'm just like, I'm the worst son that there ever could be because I'm getting my folks raided. So my dad comes out. He's a big guy. Comes out and he's like, "You need to show me a warrant." And like, "We don't have to show you anything." He goes, "If you're raiding my house, you need to show me a warrant." And they're like, "Get down, get down." I don't know the full sequence of events, but I know that they zip tied my dad and they kept waving the gun around at him and at my mom, these MP5s. My mom is zip tied and put on the ground. And I mean, this hurts to even talk about, to do this to your mother. She was zip tied and put down face first on the floor. And my dad was like, "If you don't show me a warrant right now, you better be in the right house." And he snapped the zip ties off. And the cop was shaking. Like he was scared. So they finally like cuffed my dad. And they had them both on the ground. Well, my dad's brother is a cop in the area. And he goes, "You need to call my brother and make sure you're at the right house right now." So eventually they did. My uncle came out. They got my parents out of the cuffs. And then he didn't know what was going on either. He had no idea. At this point, they realized they were looking for me. So, jump back to the part where my sister got the phone call from my mom. This was mom being like, "You need to bring your brother home right now." And I told her, I was like, "Tell her you dropped me off." She's like, I dropped him off. She wouldn't be involved in this. I'm like, "No, you need to bring him home." So now, my parents they've gone through the house. They've gotten some things out of it. They found a gun. They took that, which it ended up being suppressed later in court because illegal search warrant, like the way they executed it, was illegal. Now my parents have been swatted, and I don't have the courage to call them. I don't. So after I'm hearing all this stuff from my grandparents, like my blood had run cold, hearing them tell me what exactly had happened. And I even kind of like mentioned to my grandfather, I was like, I think it's probably good I'm in here because now my dad can't get a hold of me because he'd probably tear me up for this. I mean, I wouldn't blame him. It's like, bro, you don't do that stuff to your family. So I was actually glad I was in jail because now I I didn't have to face this situation at home. And I don't even know how to say this without somebody getting upset, but all this time that has gone by since then, me and my mom joke about it at this point because it's funny now because I've learned my lesson and I'm not that kid. But in the moment, oh boy, this wasn't funny. This was not good. Not good, not funny, not cute. And I felt so bad for so long. But after some time had gone by and they realized that I was actually learning my lesson and I needed to be in jail to do it, there was a forgiveness aspect of it on their end, which freed me up because I carried that for a while. And we joke about it at this point, like my mom has said, man, to all that stuff, that hard stuff that went on, it's helped me to actually be a better person. So I always joke and I'm like, you're welcome. You're welcome for getting swatted. I'm glad I could help you to become a better person through all this. And it's just the perseverance, the mental fortitude. We learned a lot as a family going through this. A lot of people aren't going to accept that, and that's okay. But it took me going to prison for all those years to get myself back, to get my life back, and to be the person I always should have been. Someone who wasn't completely polluted by addictions and vices. I mean, it's no excuse. And those things don't make you do anything, but they definitely can explain why people act in certain ways. Can't sit here and say, well, the drugs made me do this. No, they didn't. I made the choices that I made. The drugs were definitely fuel to that, but they're not the driving factor behind me making those decisions that cost my family and myself years, literal years. But again, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me to be locked up because I probably would have died on the streets. I really believe that. I believe I would have died of a drug overdose or tried to rob the wrong person and I would have ended up dead. There's no redemption in that. So I'm grateful for the time that I got. I'm extraordinarily shameful and remorseful. I was for years and years until I've been forgiven from my family about it. But it was something I carried for a long time. And now that I'm taking those broken pieces and using them for something better, it's kind of like an aspect of paying it forward, which I've tried to do. And, you can't balance the scales of karma like, well, I did all these things and I've done good things, so everything's all right. But I definitely try to live my life differently now because of the choices I made that caused my parents to get raided. They're home and they're just in their house. Mom's making dinner. Dad's working on some plans for work. And then here come the jump out boys. And thankfully nobody got hurt. I'm extraordinarily happy about that. I don't know what I would have done if somebody in my family got hurt because of this. But yeah, that was about a 6-hour period of time, about 6 p.m. that night till just after midnight, because I remember being arrested and it was no, wait a minute. I said in the beginning, I had my dates wrong. I said it was April 1st. I was wrong about that. It was May 1st. It was May 1st, 2003. I'm sorry, I said it wrong in the beginning. Yeah, it was May 1st, 2003, because it had just flipped into just after midnight. And when they were fingerprinting me, I could see on the thing it was like May 1st, 2003. And I was like, oh, it's May. I was like, okay. But yeah, so that happened. It was a pretty wild experience to go down the way that it did. But again, grateful for still being here. I'm grateful that I can learn from this, and hopefully someone else can learn from my mistakes. There's a couple sayings that I love to throw out there. These are things I picked up in prison, just reading, studying philosophy, proverbs, wisdom, literature. The smart man learns from his mistakes, but the wise man learns from the mistakes of others. And I've really tried to do that with my life since then. I would watch guys in prison that would do stupid things, and they would learn from it, but they might get taxed one way, shape, or form for being stupid, for doing things that they know better than to do. So I tried to look at things with a greater field of vision, give a little bit of thought, some logic, a little bit of rationale, critical thinking skills, and to say, okay, if I do this, these are the things that could happen. If I don't do this particular thing, none of those bad things will happen. And then trying to find that middle ground. So I tried to learn from the mistakes of others at that point and to exude wisdom instead of just intelligence. And also, my favorite thing, I'm going to leave it at this and sign off for this episode. The wise man doesn't get himself into what the smart man has to get himself out of. If you enjoyed this, please give me a like, a follow, and a comment. Tell me what you think about the video. Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to call me a despicable piece of crap for getting my parents raided, and yep, I've heard it. But if you feel the need to absolutely comment that, whatever. But hopefully somebody else will learn that there is redemption if you do turn things around. You don't have to be a product of your bad decisions. You're going to have to deal with them, but you don't have to carry them for the rest of your life. You can change. It's possible. You can do better. Look at me. Got 21 years when I was 21 years old. I was fortunate to not have to do all of that. I've been home for a long time, and I'm trying to pay it forward in the best possible manner.